Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. What does complete recovery and healing after narcissistic abuse look like? What are the feelings? What are the behaviors? What are the thoughts of the healed person? This is a great question, and I get a lot of questions from viewers about this. What are the signs that I'm really beginning to heal? Well, for one, I would say it's a cessation of the emotional flashbacks that might be triggered from the narcissistic abuser. For example, you might keep replaying certain things in your mind. Things that they said, places you went, things that they had done to you, things that were highly emotional. These tend to stay in the memory for quite some time because of the strong emotional charge that's associated with them. However, with the narcissist, they can be highly emotional charged, either positive and or negative are the memories and the flashbacks that keep occurring. And what I find is that most people have flashbacks of a negative basis. Just like the veteran who has served their country and comes back from war with flashbacks of traumatic events there. Bombs going off, they're shell shocked, they have disturbing images. It's this fear that creates what they call post-traumatic stress disorder, where they find it very difficult to communicate. They feel shut down, they feel very fearful, afraid to go outside. Very crippling disorder. They keep needing to go over the experience and kind of flush it out of their mind. They might be feeling guilt, they might be feeling horror, and it's very difficult to release this. That is because there's a high emotional charge, high emotional chemical charge and content related to that memory. And so it tends to be pervasive and it tends to be very strong. There tends to be a lot of neural activity and neural networks that are set up and keeping that memory in place. I'll give you something similar to related to a comparison. For example, that of 9/11. Now, most people can recall 9/11 when the two World Trade Towers were hit. They can, bring it up in their mind. They know what time it was. They know where they were sitting. They remember pulling it up on TV or hearing it on the radio, making phone calls. That was a highly charged, emotionally charged event. That's a very highly charged memory. And for most people, they will always be able to remember 9/11. And it's for people who have, maybe lost family members in that event, it will be extremely charged, emotionally charged event for them and very indelibly ingrained in their memory. Well, likewise, these sort of memories are really emblazoned in the mind of the unhealed victim, the unhealed target. So, for example, generally, healing is going to go through stages. So first is going to be the exposure, or rather the first phase is really going to be that of kind of identifying that something is wrong, something is not really right here. And so one will then begin and commence on sort of that inquiry and wondering and trying to be hypervigilant and kind of look for things that are going on. Maybe dates were missed, calls were missed, meetings were missed, dates were missed, etc. Vacations were canceled. A lot of information was gathered. You found out information about them. And then lo and behold comes the exposure, where you expose the narcissist, you expose the psychopath. It's all starting to gel for you, and when you expose them, you know that you know and you know. So then becomes really one of the rock bottom experiences of going through healing. When you go through that exposure, perhaps for the first time, you can have a very pronounced, very strong sense of fear, feeling insecure, feeling unsafe, feeling that maybe you're going crazy. Your mind is racing, you are shaking, physically unable to maybe stand up, drive a car, unable to physically focus, shaking, sweats, unable to eat, very fearful, fear for their life. And these are, oftentimes almost the feeling of being in shock, like that which would experiences in post-traumatic stress syndrome. Now, with the strength of that individual, if they're able to get some tools, get some stability, get some things going that are going to help stabilize them and ground them and secure them, then the healing has begun. If they're not able to really latch on to any tools, then that sort of rock bottom can really kind of go on and on and on and on, and they really remain very stunted and stifled in their growth. And otherwise the tools need to be sought out immediately for understanding and getting knowledge of this type of person, knowledge of this type of abuse, and then looking at some healing tools. So it's kind of multifaceted. One is becoming educated on this type of person so you understand exactly what was done to you. And then second becomes the tools of healing, the strategies, the affirmations, the maybe going to a psychologist, maybe getting some talk therapy, reading some books, getting some tools, using affirmations, using a recovery journal, using resources, self-educating on how to work through this. And as you utilize and plug in these tools, then you begin to go through a series of reformatting your brain, reformatting your identity. And by that I mean beginning with things like affirmations, boundary control. You begin to establish boundaries. You begin to actually see that you are a separate person, wonderful and unique, special and wonderful, unique from the abuser. And oftentimes, since you were targeted, you were taken advantage of, you were exploited, and you were basically focused in on so that they could take from you. And if this has been going on for some long time, then that feeling is going to be quite severe. And mental affirmations need to help uproot. These serve the purpose of uprooting that very deeply ingrained sort of experience and what I would call, a healed, an identity that is based in abuse. So an abused or victim identity. So an identity, in other words, that person has been so abused, so hurt that their identity is completely that of being victimized. So they have very much a victim identity and a victim mentality. And until they actually deal with this, which my goal is to help you with this in this channel, and until they deal with that, they're going to continue on that path and continue to attract abusers into their life, continue to experience depression, continue to experience anxiety, continue to be debilitated, and continue to be unhappy and feeling fearful and very stunted in their growth and wondering why am I like this? I need some help, and then as they continue those questions, then they really begin to grab onto some tools and really apply them on a consistent and daily basis so that the actual emotional and physiological healing can take place, because the brain actually needs to heal. The brain is the center, and it's just kind of like your brain, I know it's kind of a big word, or, what is that, peace and harmony? What do you mean? Your brain, which is the reservoir of all these experiences and all the emotions that have experienced all this, needs to be treated with care. Just like a physical wound, you might need to use iodine, you might need to clean it out, you might need to put a bandage on it. You do need to go through healing processes in order to eliminate those narcissistic injuries, eliminate that toxicity, eliminate that victim personality, victim identity that has you over and over replaying this, flashing back, and considering to keep yourself in that mindset and in that role and in that identity. I know that this is a lot. If you want to join these videos, pause them and replay them. However, I'm going to keep going here because I think it'll provide a nice complete picture for you, and we can continue with these types of videos and topics in the future as well. So getting into the healing, once one begins to establish those boundaries and see that they are indeed a wonderful person, a magnificent person, a kind person, a loving person, a lovable person, a person with heart, a person with good intention, a person with goodwill, once they're able to realize that as separate from the abuser, they're able to see that abuser as just that, an abuser, and kind of compartmentalize it or have knowledge and understand it and say, okay, that was their behavior and I was basically in the way of all of this. I had experienced this. And in that boundary, they realize that they are separate from that. And in that recognition, they become in tune and aware of a better part of themselves, the truth about themselves. They're not all the condescending. They are not all the negation. They are not the negative validation that that abuser had led them to believe, that they had conditioned them to be. Because the victim of a narcissistic attack is conditioned to be a victim. They're conditioned, they're treated that way again and again and again and again on a chronic basis. And that chronic treatment conditions them to become a victim, to become weak, to become feeling less than, to become a low self-esteem, to become a depressed person, to become anxiety-ridden, to become crippled, to become less than their potential. So that they are conditioned, meaning like they're treated that way again and again. They're trained. They're treated in such a manner. And when the abused wakes up and realizes something is actually wrong here, this is not correct, this is not right, and it's in that awakening then the healing journey becomes, and then the affirmations come, and the affirmations need to be said very strongly, very rapidly, with commitment, conviction, understanding, faith, and belief. And with this, the voice of healing starts to become louder than the voice of being abused. And that actual change occurs in the neocortex, again in the mind, where the healing affirmations, the correct, truthful affirmations, I am wonderful, I am of good heart, I am a hard worker, I am loving of my fellow man. When all this starts to become affirmed and spoken with conviction, belief, faith, and knowledge and certainty, then that becomes so loud and pronounced that those connections are now forming a new neural circuit in the brain, in the mind, and in the soul of the target, so they begin to basically wash away the effects of that abuse, wash away the effects of that maladaptive treatment, wash away the comments, the insults, the negation, all that treatment. It begins to wash away, and it no longer exists, and the brain actually literally begins to heal itself. And those new neural connections are taking what's called the neural growth hormone, and they're solidifying these new neural networks. I am wonderful. I am magnificent. I am a great person. I am loving and kind. In fact, that's why I was targeted. I am a wonderful person. I do have a tremendous amount of good deeds. I am intelligent. I am benevolent. And all these, qualities and all these affirmations start to come together, and they're actually creating a glue, literally on a chemical hormone basis called neural growth factor, which is going to create those cells in a stronger manner, which is the healing mechanism. And those old cells are basically being starved. That's a beautiful thing. The old memories are being starved because truth is taking its place. And then those cells, those neural connections, those neurons, which are the cells within your brain, you do have cells that are called neurons. Just as you might have epidural cells, skin cells in your arm, leg, etc., your skin, those are called epidural cells. We have unique cells in all of our body, from lung cells to taste bud cells to hearing cells to eye cells. We have different types of cells that serve different types of functions. The follicle, the hair growth follicle, etc. So the neural growth hormone is now going to cohesively pull together those affirmations, and those affirmations then are going to create a new emotion. And the emotion is the chemical brain, which is the limbic brain, which then gets to be turned on, and new positive emotions start to be created and flood into the body of the healed person. So the emotions of safety, security, competence, self-esteem begin to rush into the body, and you're creating a stronger emotional experience in the body. And when you do that, you are creating a new identity, you're creating a new perspective, you're creating a new self, and you're transformed, and you're transforming, and you're rising above, and you begin the healing process, and then you become healed. That is what the healed person looks like. Please play this video again and again. Please feel free to comment with any questions, and please share with people who need it. Please help those who have gone through this type of circumstance. Please share and subscribe to Peace and Harmony for more great tools, videos, discussions, and support. Have a beautiful day. Come and visit me, little butterfly? I hope you do.